Good evening. It is time. It is the Sunday edition of the Iman Report. It is Sunday, August 16th. Tonight we will preview the Pac-12. We'll get to the Pac. We'll get to college football in a moment. The NFC South and the NBA playoffs. College news: Big Ten and Pac-12 have made the announcement they will delay the college football season until the spring. I think this is a very good move. By then, we should at least have some treatments for COVID-19, and there should be some vaccines available by then for emergency use. So those will be some good things there. And maybe by then, colleges will start reopening and start seeing a phased approach of normal life again by then. Who knows? But ACC, SEC, and Big 12 do intend to play their seasons in the fall as of right now. Things could change as cases remain high, and people, unfortunately, when I saw this picture from Brody Brazil's page on Twitter today, some disturbing scenes out of Georgia of college students holding parties already. So that is a big no-no, and that could certainly spike the cases as bad as it is already in the state of Georgia. So time will tell. And Mark Emmert, of course, could intervene at some point and say, no, we're not going to sanction any college football this fall. It could come from the NCAA. Of course, you could have the board of trustees saying, no, you're not playing football this fall. And of course, you have the governors, especially schools like Rutgers and Syracuse. Those governors are certainly going to be watching cautiously. Of course, the governor of Virginia is going to be watching cautiously. Larry Hogan, the governor of Maryland, is going to be watching cautiously. So, if we see a spike in cases, say as the seasonal flu starts kicking around in October and November, there could be a real possibility we could see college football have to go into pause. Hopefully, I wish them a lot of luck. And of course, our wonderful president, unfortunately, I am making a little bit of a political remark here, is our wonderful president, unfortunately, is trying to encourage college football in the fall. And I just don't think so. And if he had his way, he would have the stadiums packed. Not a good idea. But I will preview the Pac-12, even though the season's not going to be until the spring if there is a season. We are going to start off with the North Division. I think in last place, I think it's going to be the Stanford Cardinal this year, unfortunately. And David Shaw I think's gotten too complacent here at Stanford the last few seasons. The recruiting's gone down at Stanford the last few seasons. Now with KJ Costello transferring out of Stanford, there's a real good chance Stanford could be the worst team and one of the worst teams this year in the Pac-12. Team I have in fifth place, Oregon State. I actually think Oregon State could be on its way up this year in rebuilding their football program. I like their coach. They might rattle off. They might get to 5-7 this year. I don't think they're going to get to the bowl. Stranger things have happened. But I do think Oregon State is an up-and-coming football program this year. In fourth place, I'm going to go with Washington State. The loss of Mike Leach definitely hurts the Cougars, and Washington State could definitely take a step back just simply by losing Mike Leach this year. Third place, Washington Huskies, on the ups this year. And Washington's going to be a middle of the pack team in the Pac-12. Second place, Oregon. I kind of think Oregon's going to take a bit of a step back this year with the loss of Justin Herbert. Mario Cristobal trying to keep things going at the University of Oregon, but I do think the Ducks are going to miss Justin Herbert this year. I think Oregon will finish in second. First place, I actually think it's going to be the Cal Golden Bears. I'm going to surprise people and say the Cal is going to win the north part of the Pac-12 this year. Cal is up and coming. Justin Wilcox has really put a good defense at Cal, and I think this could be the year Cal wins the North. Now on to the Pac-12 South. Last place, Arizona Wildcats. I just don't think it's working out for Kevin Sumlin at Arizona. It's Khalil Tate's regressed, and honestly, I don't know if bringing Kevin Sumlin to Tucson was the right move. I kind of think Arizona and Sumlin could certainly be parting ways after this season. Fifth place, UCLA. I'm not going to fault Chip Kelly. It's not really his fault that UCLA has been as bad as they are. UCLA, the cupboard was bare when Jim Mora Jr. left UCLA. I kind of think UCLA will start getting better now that this is year 3 of Chip Kelly. I don't know if they're going to get to a bowl game or not yet, but I do think they will have a little bit of improvement at UCLA. And it's still going to take some time for UCLA to recruit. And so I think Chip Kelly deserves another year or two to try to get the recruiting up at UCLA. Fourth place, I am going to go with the Colorado Buffaloes. Carl Durrell taking over as head coach at Colorado. Colorado was good under Mel Tucker, who goes to Michigan State. I think Colorado will be around 7-5, 6-6 this year. Third place, I am going to go with the Arizona State Sun Devils. Herm Edwards, I questioned the hire when it first happened a couple years ago. So, quietly, Herm Edwards has made Arizona State into a good college football program in the Pac-12. I think they could be a contender this year. Time will tell. But I do think Arizona State is a contender this year to win the Pac-12 South. Second place, never underestimate the Utah Utes. Utah will definitely be back in the hunt for a title. Kyle Whittingham always puts a good season at Utah, and this year should not be any exception for Utah. And in first place, this will be your Pac-12 winner this year, the boys of Troy, USC Trojans. Whether or not USC gets to a playoff or not is another story. But I do think the USC Trojans should be playing in at least the Rose Bowl this year. And I think they will be anything less than a New Year's Six Bowl appearance for USC will spell the end of Clay Helton. There's no excuses this year at USC. So I'm going to go with the USC Trojans to win the Pac-12. That wraps up the Pac-12 for this year. On to the NFC South. Last place, the Carolina Panthers. It's going to be a long rebuild in Carolina. I think Teddy Bridgewater he's going to be a bridge quarterback, no pun intended. But I do think Carolina is under the right direction with Matt Rule taking over as head coach at Carolina. The Panthers rebuilding from scratch. They might be one of the worst teams this year in the NFC, but I think they're just aiming for a high draft pick for next year. Third place, Atlanta Falcons. I think this is going to be the year Dan Quinn finally gets fired at Atlanta and possibly Thomas Dimitroff. Look, Matt Ryan's not getting any younger. Ryan has regressed the last few seasons. Julio Jones might be traded out of Atlanta at some point. I just think this team is going to be dragged kicking and screaming into rebuild. maybe by next year it might be time for Atlanta to draft a quarterback to replace Matt Ryan. But Atlanta is no contender anymore. After this year, it's going to be time to move on from Dan Quinn. Second place, the New Orleans Saints. I think this is one where the schedule more favors the Bucs than the Saints this year. Saints will have the tougher schedule. This is very likely going to be the final year of Drew Brees in New Orleans. Brees has regressed this last year, and to even be contending for a playoffs and to be a playoff contender this year, it's all going to fall on Alvin Kamara this year to run the football. They did bring in Jameis Winston as their next rehab project. In the event that Drew Brees gets hurt, hopefully that does not happen. The other thing that is going for the New Orleans Saints is the fact they have a really good defense. But I just don't think the schedule this year is going to favor the New Orleans Saints winning another division title. And your NFC South winners this year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They brought in Tom Brady. They brought in Rob Gronkowski. They've beefed up the defense. And I think it will result in a division title for the Buccaneers. But I think half of that is going to be just the fact the Buccaneers have a weaker schedule than the Saints. So I have more wins projected for the Buccaneers. I think I've got them around 11-5, 12-4. And this is minus the fact that the Buccaneers, I don't know if Tom Brady is going to be, I think Tom Brady could still regress more this year in Tampa Bay. That is a real possibility. But he has a go-to guy in Mike Evans. So I do think the Buccaneers, Gronkowski certainly will be rusty this year. But it's all going to be about Ronald Jones this year being able to run the football this year. If Ronald Jones is able to successfully run the football, that puts a lot of weight off of Tom Brady's shoulders right there. And that will definitely help. I also think it's going to help for Tom Brady to have an experienced coach in Bruce Arians. Arians is a very good head coach. So Arians will make the adjustments as needed. But I think Father Time is catching up with Tom Brady. And expect a regression this year. Just expect it. And this could easily be like what happened to Brett Favre when he went to Minnesota. I think we are seeing the final 2 years of Tom Brady. So enjoy the Brady magic while you can in Tampa Bay. Now on to the NBA playoffs. Tomorrow starts the NBA playoffs. We're going to start off in the East. We are going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks against the Orlando Magic. Orlando 33-40 on the year. Milwaukee 56-17. I don't think Orlando has a prayer, but I think they will get some good playoff experience for the young Orlando Magic squad. Antetokounmpo and the Bucks and Mike Budenholzer will just be way too much for the Raptors. For the Magic, excuse me. I think the Bucks take that series in 5 games. Next up, Raptors and Nets. Nets are lucky to make the playoffs without Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Do they have a prayer against the Raptors? No. They play good team basketball in Toronto. I expect them to make quick work of Brooklyn. Toronto in 5. And here's the series that I am looking forward to seeing. The 43-30 Philadelphia 76ers against the Boston Celtics. This is like old-time 80s basketball rivalry. Back in the 80s, you would have Dr. J go up against Larry Bird every year in the NBA playoffs. We shall see if this becomes a renewal of an old rivalry between the Celtics and the 76ers. This should be a very fun and competitive series. Boston, they definitely got the tools. Brad Stevens, a good coach. Brett Brown, another good coach. Boston's going to have the advantage, but I think it's going to be Celtics. Celtics in 7. I think this is going to go 7 games. And another fun series, the Miami Heat against the Indiana Pacers. Oladipo's back. I think this is going to be a very good series. You've got Miami, Eric Spoelstra, lots of playoff experience as an NBA coach. This one's, I think, is going to be another 7-game series. I'm going to go Heat. Heat in 7. Now on to the Western Conference. The Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Portland Trailblazers. The Lakers did stumble kind of into the playoffs. They have struggled in the bubble. The loss of Rondo has hurt. But I think the Lakers will flip the switch when the playoffs come around tomorrow. I do think the Lakers, but I do think Portland's going to give them a series. I'm going to say the Lakers in 6. Clippers and Mavericks. This should be a very fun series. The up-and-coming Dallas Mavericks against the Los Angeles Clippers with PG-13 and Kawhi Leonard. Dallas always has a puncher's chance. I think Dallas could make this a series. Are they going to win? No. Unfortunately, no. I'm going to take the Clippers in 6. Another fun series will be the Denver Nuggets against the Utah Jazz. I think this could be the Quinn Snyder definitely on the hot seat to win this series in Utah. Denver, a very good squad. Mike Malone, good coach. I think this is going to be a 7-game series. I'm going to go Nuggets in 7. In the final series, the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chris Paul, who was thought to be washed up until going to Oklahoma City, has found the fountain of youth in OKC this year, going against his former squad with Mitch Harden and Russell Westbrook. This should be a fun, physical series. This will be must-see TV. I am going to go Rockets in 7. Hope everybody enjoys the playoffs this year. Next week, we will preview the NFC West and the SEC. Everybody be safe, mask up, have a good week. Enjoy, save lives, stay home, watch the NBA playoffs. Good night.